Do you like cosmic horrors from beyond the imagination of the human mind and synthwave music? Well, this week's movie might be right up your alley. Let's talk about Flying Lotus's newest film, Ash. So I found out about Ash a week or so before its release, and to say the ad campaign was limited is an understatement. It was literally just a Facebook ad that I happened to scroll past. It was produced by Shudder. They're a horror streaming app if you've never heard of them, and as I mentioned before, it was directed by Flying Lotus, who's also a musician. And Ash very much feels like a passion project, and you can see the love, you can feel it. And I will say before I jump in that this movie is definitely not for everyone, but let's break down the pros and cons. So to kick things off, Ash definitely won't be winning any awards for its setup. We start off with our main character, Rhea, who wakes up with amnesia, and as far as plot devices go, that's a really standard one, but I'll give the movie some credit because it does use it in a creative way for an end-of-movie twist, so I appreciated that. I also like that we learn things as the character does. It makes the surprises more impactful, and I also appreciate the sense of encroaching dread that we get. And everything about this planet just seems oppressive. The walls of the seemingly safe facility that she's in don't feel inviting at all. And what I like about this is we get a scene early on in the movie that shows what her relationship was like with the crew members beforehand, most of which who now lay dead on the floor across the facility. And we get little glimpses here and there of what happened, many of them accompanying with like literal face-melting visuals. It's really cool. It's a big mystery to unfold, and I would classify Ash as a void movie. This is a name I've come up with for films that are about the vibe, the atmosphere, and the headspace you're put in when you watch them. The story is of course a component, but it's usually told more visually in a film like this. And the music, which is definitely a highlight, takes you places. But one thing I'll give Ash credit for is unlike other movies of the same kind, this one actually has a story and it explains itself by the end. I was not left questioning what had happened like I did with something like Beyond the Black Rainbow. The movie wears its influences on its sleeve, but that's not a bad thing. It's obvious that Flylo is a fan of The Thing, Alien, Dead Space, and other such cosmically themed horror movies and video games. I have seen some describe this as Lovecraftian, but I don't really agree with that. Ash is very much a sci-fi film with some really high concepts, and one of its weaknesses is unfortunately it just doesn't have the budget to fully realize these concepts, but I'll give them a lot of credit because they did a lot with what they were able to pull off on this budget, and Neil Blomkamp was a producer, so I bet he had something to do with that. Anyways, your enjoyment of Ash will really depend on how much patience you have and if you enjoy its vibes and atmosphere. The movie's runtime is less than 90 minutes, but I could see someone who isn't feeling it thinking they were watching a 3-hour movie and not enjoy the pace of the story. The pace is definitely slow, but it builds into a finale that's worth the wait. And I have to say, I was not sure how the movie was going to end, but it still definitely surprised me. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's interested, so I'll just say, if you enjoy faces splitting open and tentacles, this movie has got you covered. Overall, I really enjoyed Ash. It is obtuse enough for its mystery to be interesting. There's enough twists and turns to keep the story from getting boring, and while the budget is low, the visuals are still a sight to behold. All of this being tied together with Flying Lotus's appropriate soundtrack, which feels like it pays homage to John Carpenter while also being its own thing. And if you like claustrophobic space-themed sci-fi horror with a twist of techno-organic, then Ash will have you entertained from beginning to end. However, if you're somebody who likes their sci-fi movies to have a faster pace and maybe a little bit more action, you may find yourself zoning out. If you do decide to give it a chance, I recommend sticking around to the end because the finale is definitely worth it.
Unusual life form.
But that's just my opinion. Did you see Ash? If you did, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see y'all next week.